What's up everyone, it's Victon here with another Path of Exile tips and tricks video. Today we're going to be going over a seriously awesome tool that can help you guys earn an insane amount of currency, especially early in the beginning of a league. We're going to go over the tool itself, how to set it up properly, how to use it in game, and also my strategy that I plan on using it when the Flashback event comes out. I can't stress this enough. It's just a really great league starting tool to use on any new league going forward. I've done this method in the past not using this tool, and even without a tool like this, I was able to make several hundred chaos a day without even trying. So now using this tool, I'm guessing that I'm going to at least double that amount of currency. That amount of chaos is pretty crazy to have the first few days of a league, so it can really kickstart your build so you can get ahead of the curve. Honestly though, using this tool anytime in a league, even after the league start, is going to get you some fast currency, and it's going to be a great strategy for currency making in general. You can just kick back, solo farm hundreds and hundreds of easy chaos orbs, and you can do this with any build in the game super easily. Even if you have a crappy build, it's just fine. Before we get into the build guide though, if you end up enjoying this guide or any of my many other Path of Exile guides, do consider hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel, my Patreon and Twitch channel will be linked in the video description below. Being a sub will get you access to my sub-only Discord community, where I have very frequently done build reviews, and in general we just have a really awesome community of folks ready and willing to help out with builds or just chat about the game in general and have a good time. Yeah, enough of that, let's go ahead and jump into the game, and we're going to start off by going over what this tool is and what we can do with it. Alright, so first off, I think there's at least one other tool out there like this already. I know specifically Path of Math did an awesome video on a tool like this a while ago, and I'm actually going to put a link to that video in the description of this video because it's a different but similar tool that you might want to check out. The tool that we're going to be going over today, at least in my opinion, is much easier to use and much more noob friendly, which we could all use a bit of sometimes. That being said, I was actually able to get this tool up and running pretty much right away, whereas the PoE QOL tool, I had some problems with getting to work, but that might have just been because of me, who knows. Anyways, this tool is called the Chaos Recipe Enhancer. I'll have a link to it in the description of the video below. So what this thing does is, to sum it up simply, it automates your chaos recipe process as much as possible so you spend less time using your brain and more time playing the game. It syncs with your loot filter and shows you rares on the ground that you need to fill up sets for your chaos recipe. Once you have enough of one item, let's say you already have 5 helmets, it'll stop showing those helmets on the ground so you don't pick up more than you need. Instead, let's say if you have only 3 pairs of gloves, well, it'll keep showing your gloves until you get 5 to match your helmets, or whatever number you want to set it to. Once you have enough fully completed sets, it's going to make a bell sound for you, and you're going to know to go to your stash and start selling all of those chaos recipes. It's then going to show you via an overlay what items you need to move over from your stash tab to your inventory to sell. This ensures you'll never accidentally forget any items when trying to vendor again. It even color codes it for you, making it super simple and fast. The faster you can do this and spend as little amount of time as possible as your hideout, the more chaos recipes you're going to be able to find while playing the game normally, and thus more chaos you make per hour, almost for free. Selling these unidentified sets gets you 2 chaos per set, so that adds up pretty fast, especially at the start of leagues when currency is hard to come by. So by doing the chaos recipes with this tool, it's going to be a top strategy for getting rich fast. Even for those folks that don't tend to make a lot of currency in leagues or aren't as experienced with trading as some others, you can still make a ton of currency using this method, since you're going to be farming all of those chaos orbs yourself. Overall, it's just a fantastic tool that really takes your currency farming to the next level. So with all of that being said, let's get into how we actually set this up. Now, the best part about the setup process is it's actually pretty simple. There's still a few things here and there that I wish I would have known beforehand when I started using it, and I'm sure there's a few things that I'll still learn over time, but for now, I wanted to get this guide out to you guys to show you all the basics on how to set it up so you too can start rolling in the chaos orbs. Alright, so first, let's actually get this tool. Again, I'll put a link to the download in the video description. Just click this green button here that says code, and you are good to go. It's going to download. And for anyone concerned about the safety for your computer or your Path of Exile account, don't worry, this tool is safe to use. There's tons of people already out there using chaos recipe tools, and I haven't heard of anyone getting in trouble for it. It's an overlay on top of your game and doesn't mess with any of the files on your game whatsoever, so it's not going against terms of service. Anyways, once you have it downloaded, just install the program and make sure your game is running in windowed mode, and then open up the program. It should look just like this, but without some of these settings filled in. We're going to go over the best settings I have found to get this tool working smoothly, and ideally here, you can literally just do exactly what I do, and yours should work just fine. Okay, so first here, just type in your PoE account name, easy peasy. Next is the session ID, and this one is a little bit more confusing, but no worries, there's actually an easy way to get this, and I'm going to show you guys how to get it. So I have this guide linked in the video description as well. First, just open up the official Path of Exile website and log into your account. To get your session ID, you just need to be logged into your account and then hit F12 on your browser. Personally, I was using the Firefox browser for this. I found my session ID by navigating to the Storage tab, and then Cookies, and then inside Cookies and the Path of Exile website, there it was, the PoE SSID. Once you find that, it should be a pretty long one and have a whole bunch of numbers and letters in it. Just double click it and copy it. Once you have that, we're going to go back to the Chaos Recipe Enhancer tool, and we're going to paste that into here. I have Z's here just to hide my session ID since you don't want to share this with anybody. Next, I type in my league name, and then I type in the number of full sets I want to store before needing to go back to my stash tab and sell all of those for Chaos Orbs. Personally, I think anywhere between 3 and 5 is pretty good. Now, for the refresh rate, I have mine set to 15 seconds, which is the lowest it can go. If we have it any higher, it takes longer for the tool to tell the overlay what's actually in your stash, and you might be picking up stuff you don't actually need, so I keep mine as low as possible. Next is your loot filter, and this is what you're going to do if you want the tool to change all of the colors of your items so that it's going to show what items you still need for completing your chaos recipes. One of the good things about this tool is you can actually use this tool with any loot filter, even your personal ones. Now, that made me a bit nervous though, because I didn't want to bring any of my normal loot filters, so I just simply went to Filterblade and I quickly downloaded a new filter. It's also important you want to have a filter that actually shows these rare items by default. So on the standard never sync loot filter, I have my strictness turned to semi-strict, but honestly you can use anything you want as long as it actually shows rare items from eye level 60 to 74, which is the chaos recipe that's going to get you actually chaos instead of regals. So anything eye level 75 and above is what gets you regals, and that's not what we want early on in the leagues. So on Filterblade, I then go to the download tab and then option 2, download file. I give it whatever name I want. Personally, I chose Flashback League Chaos Recipe Test. Then click download and you are good to go. Next, go in game and hit escape, and then we're going to go down to the options menu. From there, go to UI and then scroll all the way down to the list of item filters. Make sure, of course, you put that new loot filter that you just got in your loot filter folder first. Open that up and we're going to select whatever that filter was that you just made the changes to. Like I said, I created one specifically for this, so I have that one selected here. Okay, so your loot filter is set up. Let's go back to the settings on the tool itself. So next we're going to check the loot filter manipulation box just to have it auto adjust your loot filter based off what items you still need, like I mentioned earlier. I personally like storing two-handed weapons for my chaos recipe, but you can do whatever you prefer here, so check that box or don't. The Exalted Shard recipe is actually broken, I think, right now, so we're going to leave that unchecked. Next, we're just going to have some hotkey options here, so you can either change those or not, whatever floats your boat. Close to tray is also a personal choice, so again, do whatever you want on that one. I personally have mine not close to tray. I would, however, suggest adjusting the overlay opacity and the stash tab overlay opacity to about where I have it right here. This worked out for me, and it looks pretty good in game. Checkmark that notification sound box if you do want a sound to pop up when you have all of your sets completed. As far as the colors up here, honestly, just pick whatever you want. I chose purple because it looked good to me, but you guys can pick whatever you want. You'll notice that jewelry isn't on there, and that's because jewelry is always highlighted because it's what you find the least of, so you should always be looting those. Alright, now go down here to tabs and let's fill this section in. Good thing to note here is that the stash tab numbers actually start at 0, which is kind of weird. So the first tab that you're going to have is actually 0, and then it goes to 1 to 2 to 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. I have mine as my first slot for saving time when I go back to town. So I put mine as 0, but make sure you guys put whatever number it is in your stash tab. Mine is also a quad tab, so I have that checked. You can use this without quad tabs, of course, no worries there. And that's it. Once you have all that done, you're ready to hit save settings and then click run. Once you're back in game, it's going to pop up on your screen and show you all the items that you need for your chaos recipe. Do note that you can actually move this box around anywhere you want on the screen. For me, I personally liked it at the bottom of the screen. The first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that your stash tab overlay lines line up right. So go to your stash tab and then hit stash on the overlay tool, and a grid's going to pop up just like you saw there. You'll have to hit the edit button on your overlay tool to be able to actually move the overlay around from your tab. So once you do that, at the bottom right of the tab, you're going to see a little triangle. Just click that, and then you're going to move the tab around until it matches up perfectly with your tab. Once it's matched up, just click that save button and hit the hide button to make the overlay go away. Alright, now you are almost ready to go. Just hit the fetch button, and it's going to pull data from your stash tab and tell you what items you need to complete your sets. As you can see here, for me, I still need weapons and body armors. So let's go into a map, and I'm going to walk you guys through what y'all see and how to use this tool while in a map. Alright, so first things when you hop into a map, you're going to make sure you go back to your UI settings and refresh your loot filter. You need to do this every time you go into a new map, or every other map, I would say. When you refresh your loot filter, it changes everything to make sure that you have the most up-to-date info, and it's going to show you only those items that you need for your recipe. If you forgot to update the filter, then it could be showing you lots of, for example, body armors when you already have tons of those and you don't need to be picking them up. So yeah, make sure you update that right before you get in. Then just start mapping away, just like normal. I'll skip ahead here to the boss, and you're going to see what it looks like to drop a whole bunch of loot. Okay, so the boss has just died and dropped a ton of body armors and weapons, which is exactly what I needed. And you can see them all by them being purple, which is the color that I selected in the tool settings. You're also going to notice a red one there. That's the color that I have set for belts, and remember that belts and rings and amulets will always show up because those are what you find the least of, and you always want to be looting those. And that's really it for the actual mapping section. Just make sure you refresh your filter every time you start a new map. Now let's go over going back to town. Okay, so we just got back to town and we want to dump all of our items into our stash. First, go ahead and hit that stop button, and you can even hit the stop button before you go back to town as well. That's actually what I typically do. Then you're going to dump all of your items and hit refresh again. Remember that 15-second refresh time though. This is where it kind of comes into play and is a bit annoying. Typically you do spend about 15 seconds in your hideout, whether you're selling or doing whatever in your stash, but if you're going zoom, then you might not. Basically what I do is I'm going to start up that new map, and right when I get into the new map, I'm going to hit refresh button and then refresh my filter as well. Doing it just like that should work perfectly pretty much every time for you guys, and it should be pretty smooth. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you guys an example of what I mean right here with a full example from a live feed of a couple maps so you guys can kind of get the feel for how it's used in a live situation. If you want to skip this, go ahead and skip on past to my final thoughts on this tool. Alright, so we're actually going to start at the end of the map here, and we're going to go back to town and we're going to start stashing our items. I think it's really important to show this because the most important thing here is right when you get back into town, you do want to hit that stop button. You're going to go ahead and throw all your stuff into your stash, and the reason we're doing this is because that is giving the 15-second time limit between when you first refresh and when you want to refresh again for it to actually pull the correct information. If you don't do that and you hit refresh too soon, it's going to pull the old information. That's not what we want. So for those zoom guys out there, by the way, you might want to hit stop right at the end of the map so that when you're loading into your hideout and then when you start your new map, that 15 seconds goes by. So we just got into the map here. We're going to hit that refresh, and it's going to make that sound, which is actually okay. It says that we don't need anything down there with the icons, but that's not correct. We actually need some type of jewelry, because you can see right there that it says sets 0, and that's because we need jewelry. There's not an icon for jewelry, whether it be rings, amulets, or belts, and that's because it always wants you to be picking up those, because they're a little bit rare and they're harder to find, so we want to be picking those up all the time. So the big thing to note there is that sets completed 0, unless that's 1, 2, 3, 4, then you're fine, but if it's at 0, keep going. Get those jewelry pieces and you're good to go. See right there, I just got a leather belt, but I think in this case I did need amulets or rings, something like that. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm actually going to just let this play for a good 5 to 6 minutes, and it's going to be several maps back to back, and I really just want you guys to see kind of my flow for when I click the stop button, when I click the refresh button, when I'm selling items, just so you can kind of see how that flows. And it is pretty easy once you get the hang of it, but once you It takes a little bit to get the hang of it, I would say. So it took me probably a couple hours to kind of get the hang of it, but I think I've gotten it down to a science at this point, and it works basically every single time I do it. So watch this if you're interested. If you're not, you think you got everything, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and skip to the end. I'll put up the timestamp on the screen right now, and you can go ahead and skip to my final thoughts. Alright, so as you guys could see, it's actually super easy once you get the hang of it. I personally like this tool a lot better than the QOL tool, and honestly, though, that might be just because I never really got it to work, but I do find this one to be a bit easier to set up. Yeah, that's really it for how I set up and run this tool. I can't tell you guys enough. Doing this in the beginning of leagues is actually crazy for making fast currency to help fund your builds. You can literally do it starting in Act 8 on the Harbor Bridge, and even do it if your build is kind of crappy. It really doesn't even matter. Just keep farming and chipping away by getting hundreds and hundreds of Chaos Orbs doing the Chaos recipe. I'm definitely going to be using this tool myself come the Flashback event, so if y'all are interested in seeing it in action, come on over to my Twitch channel where I'm going to be streaming the event. But yeah, that's all I got for this one, guys. If you ended up enjoying this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Also, if you're interested in supporting me, I do link my Patreon and Twitch channel in the description below. Being a sub on either of those places, like I mentioned earlier, is actually going to get you access to my sub-only Discord, where we have an awesome community and I do very frequent build reviews and in general, just try and help out as many people as I can. That's all I got for this one, guys. Thanks everyone, and I will catch y'all in the next one.